Coming up right now, the newest episode from Carr, Gwyn, and Ode on Three Pagans and a Cat.
If we could destroy custom at a blow and see the stars as a child sees them, we should need no other apocalypse. Welcome to Storytelling Apocalypse, the 49th episode of Three Pagans and a Cat. Our opening today is courtesy of 19th century writer G.K. Chesterton. You may call me Ode.
You can call me Carr. I'm Ode's father.
Merry meet. My name is Gwyn, Ode's mother.
And we are just back from Michigan Pagan Fest.
Pagan Fest.
Pagan
So that would be why.
And my voice is all fucked up.
I think all of us are a little hoarse from all
And
the talking
tired.
and
Yeah.
tired. I've spent the day pretty much on the couch.
With the cat.
With the cat. I spent the day on the couch with the cat.
Chilling with the cat.
Who
missed us.
Who missed us. He was meowing, and he has pretty much not let me out of his sight all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think this is kind of cool. Out of all of the stuff we recorded at Michigan Pagan Fest on YouTube, 108 hours was watched.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is a lot.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
That's not 108 hours of recording.
No.
But that's cumulatively the people who have watched the
Yeah.
streams.
It's 108 hours, so that's 6,500 minutes.
That's
too
amazing.
many minutes.
That's too many minutes.
Yeah.
But that's amazing when you consider we don't have a huge presence on YouTube yet. We're still growing there. So it's
Susie
pretty cool.
says, I just watched for 4 days and I'm exhausted for you guys and for me. That's fair.
And we appreciate you guys who watched with us, who commented, who asked questions.
Yep.
It was great. It was really, really great. And we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think one of the ones that, nobody was on because I did it late at night, but if you all want to go back and watch...
Yeah, the archives.
Corvus Nocturnum, who I interviewed, was a great interview. We talked about his publishing company, Dark Moon Press, and then we talked about the Church of Satan because he's
Right, he's a member. He's a
He's a
priest
priest.
Yeah.
in the Church of Satan, and he's also their media relations person.
Yeah.
And I haven't even watched that interview
No, I
yet
haven't
because
either.
I was
We were at a
I was with
ritual.
Gwyn at a ritual.
Yeah.
So
And so we are going to, probably not until tomorrow, but we're going to get everything into a playlist so it'll
Yeah.
be easier to just...
On YouTube.
On YouTube, so that you can just go to the playlist and see all of what we recorded for Michigan Pagan Fest, all 4 days. We just encourage you to check it out if you didn't get a chance to watch us live, because we had fun and
We had lots of interviews.
we had lots of really interesting people that we interviewed,
Yeah.
including some walk-ups.
yeah.
Yep.
So
couple
that
of
was
people
cool. And a
were
couple of-
brave.
A couple
Yeah.
of kids who were adorable.
Yes, some very
Yeah.
cute kids. Because Michigan Pagan Fest has kids programming.
Yeah, it's a family-friendly event, and the kids have a program that they go to all day while parents can go to their programs.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Our class, speaking with symbols,
Oh,
was
wow.
huge.
It had,
We had about 40 people in it.
It was
Yeah.
so packed.
Yeah.
I kept asking, I confirmed 3 times before we started class, are you sure you're in the right place? Is speaking with symbols the class you want? If not, no shame, no harm, no foul. Go find the class you want. But no, they were all here.
Our Sunday class
We
had
had
about 10.
about 10 people,
10,
yeah,
yeah.
for building your book.
And the very first class we did, Monikers and Metaphorical Spaces, had... Three.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were up against some really tough competition with that one.
Yes.
Well, I think Celeste pulled a lot of people
She
for
did.
that
She did.
class.
Celeste.
It was interesting because her class was about coming out, be it LGBTQ or pagan
Paganism.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and our class was about hiding it.
Yeah, how to stay in the broom closet if you got to.
If you have to, yeah.
Yeah.
But we did give
We
suggestions.
covered both sides of
we
that
covered
story.
both
Yeah.
sides of that coin. But yeah, no, it was. We had a good time. The rituals were great. I was just glad we were able to be there. And Phyllis Karat, oh my God,
Yeah,
Yes.
that woman was amazing.
amazing.
We have
It
about
was-
an hour-long interview with Phyllis Karat in
it's
the
actually a little
archive.
bit more than an
Yes.
hour.
Yeah,
more
and it
than
was
an hour.
and it was really, really good. And we could have talked to her for hours more if she didn't
yeah.
have anything else to do.
Oh yeah.
If her
If her assistant,
hadn't been like flashing
here's
signs
the
up."
time.
The ever efficient.
You have
Twyla.
things to do.
and then Phyllis and Maka
Yep.
Nightmare
Yep.
also they led a ritual
Yep.
to bless the
On
waters,
Saturday night.
specifically the waters of Flint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because as many of you I'm sure know, Flint, Michigan's water
Still a hot mess.
is still a hot mess. So that was really meaningful to all of us, I
Yeah.
think.
And it was interesting too, I think, for me, in that in the closing writ that Nathan King did, who we
Yes.
also interviewed.
Oh God, Nathan, what a
He's just a joy to behold.
He really is just a
I love Nathan. He's very
joyful person.
He's great to be around because he
is.
just like radiates good energy.
He does.
And like uplifting positivity, like relentlessly. You can't be in a bad mood around Nathan.
You cannot. You cannot.
His closing ritual was basically a follow-up to that ritual on Saturday night.
Because he was one of the guardians. He was the guardian of the East.
Okay.
During that writ.
And speaking of that writ, I actually was one of the
offerings.
And so I have a little bit of the sacred water that I'm going to be taking to Lake Michigan to do a ritual as a completion of the larger ritual that we had.
There you go. So
everyone who was one of the major participants in the ritual
took some sacred water to do with to
as
continue
as they saw
fit to continue the spell and
as they were so led.
Yeah. You and Pat ought to go do it together. I don't know if she's going to do Lake Michigan, but she probably got some too.
Yeah, she did.
She did. I don't know what she's planning to do, but I don't know.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, so housekeeping things. Do we have any new patrons other than our illustrious Bill L?
Yep, our new Jaguar.
Who won a Jaguar. Yeah.
We didn't talk about that.
So there's a raffle at Michigan Pagan Fest, and we put in a years-long
Jaguar
level
membership
to the podcast, which gets you, access to the Hunter stuff, so they get access to the patron questions under the recording channel.
Every month they get a 3-card reading from me.
Yep. And a piece of art that I put on the Patreon locked to the Jaguar level.
Yep. And they don't get anything from me.
No, nothing special from Car.
Just your goodwill and intentions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And your attention in the Discord.
That's right.
Right, yeah, I pay attention in the Discord.
Absolutely.
Susie says, I appreciate the coverage. Next best thing to being there. Everyone you talked to was awesome. So interesting to listen to the big ones in the community. Yeah, it was really great. I was surprised by how many of the big names we were able to get to sit down with us because they were so busy. I was convinced they wouldn't have any time to sit down with our podcast. Right.
We had hoped that Baba Teddy and Lady Kate, unfortunately, they were just too busy because they were doing
slammed
everything.
Yeah.
And we didn't really have an official sit down with the Utu, but he surprised us with a beautiful gift. He came, we were recording and
we were just doing one of our usual streams.
Doing one of our usual things, and he came and surprised us with a voodoo doll as a gift for supporting him, for supporting his book, and he wanted to support us in kind with a protective voodoo doll. So we bless him for that, and we thank him.
We love Voodoo.
It's beautiful.
He's such a nice guy.
We do. Yeah, he is such a kind soul. He's about the kindest person
and he's so
chill.
Relaxed.
He is. He's so chill.
Between
Nathan's joy and Utu's chill, you just are always in a good place around these people.
And then we had an apology we had to do to Mother Multiverse.
Gosh, Mother Multiverse, sweet girl.
Mother Multiverse came to us, was teaching at Michigan Pagan Fest, and came up to the booth and told us she had been listening to our previous Michigan Pagan Fest report. Back when, we went to Michigan Pagan Fest and then we came back and said, here's what we did.
Yep.
And she taught a class there, too, about superheroes, which I've been vaguely recalling what happened.
We should go back and listen.
And listen and see what exactly we said. But we said something in that episode that hurt Mother Multiverse's feelings about how I wasn't going to that class. So we apologize to Mother Multiverse in the stream, and we apologize again here in the official podcast. We certainly didn't mean to cause any upset.
No, or hurt her feelings.
Hurt any feelings.
And we never intend to do that when we're talking about teachers or anyone. Sometimes,
I'm just tactless and get going very fast
sometimes it happens. And so we just wanted to give a shout out to Mother Multiverse.
But we did
interesting courses.
We talked to her about the class that she was teaching at Michigan Pagan Fest, none of which I was able to attend. I attended one class the entire weekend.
I made it to 2. I did not make it to anything on Saturday. Saturday was by far our busiest day.
We were so busy. We had podcasting, we had our class that we had to teach, speaking of symbols. And then immediately after our class, we had the ritualist panel that we needed to moderate. And then a couple of hours after that, Gwyn and I went to the ritual that was happening at the same night.
Which I participated in.
Yes.
So That was
Saturday was wild.
busy.
Yeah.
But that ritualist panel was really
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it really was.
They had there were some great questions that were forwarded, including one from someone in the Pride.
Yep.
And then their answers were all
very
really
good.
good.
Yeah, we wish there had been a way to stream that. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi and
That
power
just wasn't
situation
gonna
over there
happen.
would not have worked for us
Right.
to stream directly from the ritualist panel.
That said, we've solved that for next year.
Yeah, next year
Yep.
we have we talked to the coordinators, and hopefully next year we're going to have a better setup for being able to do that.
Yep.
Absolutely. And again, we just want to give a big, huge shout out
Yeah.
to the coordinators, the team of Michigan Pagan Fest. Leanne,
Moira,
Morgana.
everybody.
And all the
who
volunteers.
volunteered.
All the people who did the cooking, and
Yep.
I mean,
They
just,
took great care of us.
they
Yeah.
did. They were absolutely wonderful, and we love you all, and we thank you for inviting us to be part of your event and part of your family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've basically been told that we're now stuck. And that we have to come back every year.
Akaneko says, the snake oil class by Mother Multiverse was good. I intended on just going to it because I wanted to sit, and her humor was so entertaining that I really enjoyed the class.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
she's
really
wonderful.
enjoyed talking to her
We did.
on the stream, so hopefully we'll be able to actually attend one of her classes someday.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Or
go
maybe
watch-
we'll be able to do like an official Our Community episode with her at some
Yeah.
point
Oh, yeah,
if we can.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if we
Yeah.
can
'Cause she's a
if we can
chaos
organize something like that.
magician.
Yeah, which
Yep.
I don't know that much about chaos
Exactly.
magic. All I know is that the sigil crafting method I use is based on chaos magic. But
Yeah.
that's all I know about chaos magic. So it would
Exactly.
be super interesting to talk to someone like Mother Multiverse about that.
Yep, exactly.
Do we have any new
No, we have
Okay,
no new
just
patrons.
Bill. Bill is our only new patron
Yep.
who won this raffle prize that we put up.
Yep, and was very
And there were
excited.
so many
Yep.
raffle prizes, you guys. There were like 300 items.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah.
The raffle
wasn't
went on.
quite that bad,
the raffle
but-
went on
No.
for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But a
And then
lot of money was raised
afterwards-
for PIN.
Yes.
Well, yes, yeah. The PIN did over $1,200 in money
In
raised
sales,
in sales
and donations.
Yep.
And yeah.
Plus 2.5 or 3 big ass tubs of food
Yeah.
Yep.
donated, and then they did a raffle after the raffle,
Yes, an auction.
an auction for grandmother Elspeth.
Yeah, Grandmother Elspeth was at Michigan Pagan Fest, and she has some health issues, and she had a long way to travel.
Yep.
So to thank her for coming to Michigan Pagan Fest, because she's one of the elders of the community.
Yep.
So to thank her for coming and to help facilitate her getting there and back and everything, an auction was done for these beautiful pieces of art.
Yep.
Which Akaneko aggressively bidded for some of them.
Yes.
But,
Yep.
but someone else outdid her.
Yeah.
But $757, I
Yeah,
think,
was
raised for Grandmother Elspeth between the auction and then the donations afterwards.
And
That's right.
that doesn't count the extra 150 for
Yeah.
what are they, machete?
Yes.
that Baba
Yes.
Teddy decorated.
Baba
Yeah, Baba Teddy decorated 4, I think, machetes.
Yep. He decorated more than that, but some were
Yeah,
given away.
but some were
and these
given away,
auctioned off.
These were
and
auctioned
4
off.
of them were auctioned off
And I think they auctioned off a couple of tickets to the Witches' Ball.
to the
They
Witches'
did,
Ball.
yep.
Yep.
So there are a couple of things coming up. If you live in the Michigan area, you
Yes.
should probably know about. Is that we're going to be at Detroit Pagan Pride
That's
on
in August.
the 3rd.
Yep.
We are looking at some other things, and as we have confirmation on those, we'll let you know. And then also the Witches' Ball, which is a great thing. We went last year and had an absolute blast at it, and it really is like just a ball. There's a little
A bazaar.
a
like
bazaar
craft
beforehand,
bazaar.
and then you take some time out. You go get dressed for the ball,
Yes.
as it were.
And they have music.
And they have music and
food.
dancing.
And they
Food
had
and
Boy
alcohol.
last year,
Yep.
the fire
They had
spinning.
a boy
Yeah.
dancer. Yeah, belly
Yeah.
dancer.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
So hopefully we'll be doing that again this year.
Yep.
We were asked to remind people of something that's going on in Port Huron, which we didn't know about, but we were made aware of it while we were at Michigan Pagan Fest. So September 28th, which is a Saturday, at Port Huron Township Memorial Park, there is going to be the Harvest of Knowledge, which is the Blue Water Pagan Conference's autumn event. It's hosted by Entwined Paths and the Port Huron area pagan community, and it's a pretty short event. It opens at noon and it closes at 5:30, but it's got free admission, it's got a vendor pavilion, it's going to have a bunch of classes and workshops, and it looks really interesting. So we're actually, like, Port Huron is a bit...
4 hours from us.
It's a bit of a trek, but we're considering trying to get out there because it's not until the end of September. So
and just hang out.
Yeah. So, but at the very least, anyone who's in the Port Huron area, consider looking into this because it looks like it's going to be pretty cool.
Also, September 14th is the Ann Arbor Pagan Pride Day. Which is coming up pretty quickly. Wow. In the grand scheme of things.
Considering how fast June went, pretty quickly.
Right, yep.
That's true.
And it's held at the Washtenaw Community College in Ann Arbor. So you get a chance to make it out there for that. And I believe this is actually run by Renewal Coven.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
Renewal Coven actually ran the Labyrinth at Michigan Pagan Fest this year, which I availed myself of. And if you've never had a chance to walk a labyrinth, I highly recommend that you do it. It's a very deep and meaningful experience. I want to thank all of the members of our Pride and the people who are our supporters, our, on Patreon, our patrons, because it's because of them we were able to go to Michigan Pagan Fest and not have to worry about paying our hotel or anything like that. And so we just thank you so much for supporting our podcast with your donations every month.
It would be extraordinarily difficult for us to manage these kind of events without your guys' support.
Yep.
And let me just say, we are about $170 or $180 away from going weekly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when we hit $750 in Patreon support, we're at like $575 right now.
Yeah, we'll switch to a weekly schedule.
We'll switch to a weekly schedule.
I'm becoming increasingly resigned to the fact that this is going to happen. Gwyn says, I just bumped up my membership. We can do weekly.
Yep, and that's really we're getting so close to that first membership goal.
Yep.
And it really does, we're not just saying that, it really does
it makes a huge difference.
And allows us to do these kind of events.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, huge thank you to our patrons. You made this possible.
Yep. Pretty much single-handedly.
Right, because it's...
Between them and the incredible generosity of the organizers of Michigan Pagan Fest,
coordinators,
we were able to go and do this without worry, without concern, and have an absolute wonderful time.
And actually have a little bit of money left over when we came home, which is
so
amazing.
that we weren't, starving.
Right.
That's right.
Susie says she can't believe it's episode 49. Neither can I, Susie.
Neither can we, Susie.
Neither can I.
Susie.
I did spend virtually all of my personal money at the vendors club. Yes, that did happen.
We did
and we will
spend
be
money.
reviewing those things over the course of the next few episodes.
Over the next few episodes, we'll be letting you know all about it.
Yeah, we'll have to do maybe several at a time.
A couple at a time, Otherwise, we'll be here for a year.
We'll be here forever.
Okay, so now we're finally going to get into the episode.
Done.
This is a storytelling episode.
Yep, we're being a little chill.
Yeah, we needed a chill episode.
You know that Ode cannot be chill when telling stories.
I just get excited.
For us, that is chill.
Yeah, that's chill for us. I get to tell wild bullshit.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be doing our segments again. Just reinforcing that. So when you don't hear an Ode Stone Corner scream, don't be surprised. But we are going to be doing a review for Rana's husband's incense.
Yep.
Somewhere in the middle here.
Somewhere in there.
Gwyn, would you like to begin with the first apocalyptic story in your library?
I will. I thought, I'm going to look up, see what kind of apocalyptic tales there are out there. And it turns out that a lot of cultures do have some kind of end of the world story. However, what I discovered is that there are two types. There are the types that are linear, which are generally the Abrahamic Judeo-Christian type of stories. And then there are those that are cyclical, the majority of the other religions out there. And the one that I thought was really cool that I wanted to talk about first was the epic flood adventure from the Tale of Gilgamesh, the story, the epic of Gilgamesh. And so what it turns out is, and I'm sure you're familiar with the story of the worldwide flood, it does happen it's a common story in many cultures, including Judeo-Christian Bible, but it turns out that the story of Gilgamesh, it happened 5,000 years ago, is when this tale was written. And so they're saying it's probably one of the oldest mythologies that we have on record. And this is the Sumerians.
There we go.
This is the Epic of Gilgamesh for the tale from the Sumerians. And what happened was there were like 7 gods who created the world according to the Sumerians. And they decided they didn't like the human beings. Does that sound familiar? The humans were beings were getting up to shenanigans.
Yep.
And so they got together and decided they were going to flood the world and destroy everything and start again. Well, there was one god named Ea, and he felt bad. So what happened was Ea leaked the story to
the first WikiLeaks.
I can't say this name. Utnapishtim. This guy who tells Gilgamesh the secret story about the gods and their plan to cause the flood. The god Ea told this to Utnapishtim, told him to destroy his house and build a boat. He said, regardless of the cost, it's important that living beings stay alive. So just build this boat out of your house, no matter what it takes. And so our hero, because I can't say his name, did this. He destroyed his house, pulled it down, and he built this ginormous boat at Ea's command. Our hero builds the boat. He gathers as many people as he can into the boat, and as many living creatures as he can into the boat. He actually gets carpenters and reed workers and other people working together to build the boat, and then one day
he outsources.
Yeah,
Noah
he
built
outsources.
the boat by himself with his sons. I mean, come on.
Interestingly, the boat was 120 cubits
It sounds
in
suspiciously
length.
familiar.
Yeah, it says the sides of the superstructure had equal lengths of 120 cubits.
This sounds suspiciously
And the
familiar.
boat had 6 decks divided into 7 and 9 compartments. So anyway, they made sure it was fit for travel, and they got everybody on the damn boat.
Like you do.
Yep. And then the time arrived, and it is stated that the god Shamash, I guess he felt bad too, he actually closed and sealed the door to the boat. Does that sound familiar to anybody who knows the other familiar tale?
Yeah.
And then so early in one morning, darkness descends upon the world.
Storm clouds.
Storm clouds arise from over the horizon, and the weather is terrible and frightful. And so the rain begins to come down, and the dikes and the rivers overflow, and ultimately the wind blows and the rain and
There's
it
a great,
happens and
terrible cacophony.
that's right, and the seas overflow, and before you know it, the world's flooded. And
It's
then
remarkable how quickly that happens.
that's right.
Yeah. That's the miracle.
That's right. And then once everything, and they stayed on the boat until the waters receded. And then our hero, Utnapishtim, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that to any ancient Sumerians who are out there.
Listening.
Yeah. He opened a
Any
window.
ancient Sumerian vampires out there?
He opened a window, and he felt the fresh air on his face. He fell to his knees and sat weeping, tears streaming down his face as he looked at the coastlines at the horizon and saw a region of land. And the boat lodged firmly on Mount Nemush, which held the boat for several days, allowing no swaying. On the 7th day he released a dove, which flew away, but came back to him. He released a swallow, but it also came back to him. Eventually he released a raven, which was able to eat and scratch and did not circle back to the boat.
Ravens know what's up.
That's right. And then he sent his livestock out in various directions to repopulate the world. But he did leave it because, Ea and a couple of the other gods, they had
Conspired,
They
yes.
conspired against the other gods to save humanity. They sacrificed sheep and offered incense at a mountainous ziggurat, where he placed 14 sacrificial vessels and poured reeds, cedar, and myrtle into the fire. The gods smelled the sweet odor of the sacrificial animal and gathered like flies over the sacrifice. And then the great goddess arrived, lifted up her beads, and said, "Ye gods, as surely as I shall not forget this lapis lazuli, the amulet, around my neck, I shall be mindful of these days and never forget them. The gods may come to the sacrificial offering, but Enlil may not come, because he brought about the flood and annihilated my people without considering the consequences." When Enlil arrived, he saw the boat and became furious at the other gods. And he said, "Where did a living being escape? No man was to survive this annihilation." Ninurta spoke to Enlil, saying, "Who else but Ea could do such a thing? It is Ea who knew all of our plans." Ea spoke to Enlil and said, "It was you, the sage of the gods. How could you bring about a flood without consideration?" Ea then accuses Enlil of sending a disproportionate punishment and reminds him of the need for compassion. Ea denies leaking the god's secret plan.
But he very definitely did leak the god's secret plan.
Utnapishtim, admitting only sending him a dream and deflecting Enlil's attention to the flood hero. The flood hero, though, however, and his wife are granted immortality and transported far, far away.
Now, interestingly, there's actually a flood from Mesopotamia
Yeah, there are loads
that
of flood
happened
narratives.
before the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Ah.
So, where they also built an ark or a big boat, right? So here's the fun part. You ready?
Yep.
This is the amazing thing. All three of those boats, in total size, there's less than 4% difference between them.
Whoa.
Noah's Ark and Mesopotamian Ark were both 14,400 cubits in total
Diameter or width or
And
square.
Usapatuma's,
However you say it.
Utnapishtim?
yeah, that him, Ark was 15,000 cubits. So it's just slightly bigger.
Just a little bit.
4% bigger.
Wow.
But there you go.
can
So
see-
it's
now,
yeah.
were you saying the one is actually older than
Yeah.
the?
Yeah,
So
the
presumably-
Mesopotamian, the Mesopotamian one comes from the 20th century BCE.
Whereas the
And
story
this-
of Gilgamesh comes from about 7th century BCE.
Correct. Although they have found fragments of that Gilgamesh story going back to about the 18th
Further
century
back.
BCE.
So it was actually, it must have been an oral tradition story passed down before it was written down?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that, so obviously, whichever one of these was first was the original story, right?
Right.
Right.
And then it was picked up and adapted by
Various
different cultures,
Right, yep.
right? What's fascinating to me is that I would expect there to be a lot more telephone happening.
Yeah.
I would expect there to be a lot more degradation in the details, especially from story to story. So it's very surprising and impressive that those details have been retained with such specificity.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
So much specificity. But anyway, I thought it was an interesting story.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I like that. Just the whole thing.
I like the bit where Ea is in trouble with Enlil for...
Right? And I'm sorry,
And is trying to be like, no, the human did it. It was his fault the whole time.
Just one other stupid
One other
yeah.
detail is that the Babylonian word, so that's the Epic of Gilgamesh, for oblong boat is tubu.
Okay.
T-U-B-B-U.
Okay.
Okay? The Hebrew word for ark is tibu, which is T-E-V-A-H, but the V is pronounced as a B,
As a B.
in Hebrew.
Well, let's not forget the Hebrews did spend time in Babylon.
Right, yep.
Yeah,
You know,
so languages...
many years after the writing of the
Yep.
Epic of Gilgamesh. And the one other thing I'll add that when I was researching the epic, they were saying is that most anthropologists or people that look into this kind of thing say chances are there was some kind of a flood.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
some point.
At
Which
least
covered-
in the
which
Fertile
covered-
Crescent area.
Which covered the world that they knew.
Exactly.
It covered
Right.
the world that they knew.
Which covered
And it
all
was-
the places they'd ever been.
And
Right.
it was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was a huge disaster for the people living
An
at that
ecological
time.
catastrophe.
But it was, but it was something that they survived, and so the world was rebuilt.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what a cyclical narrative
Narrative
is
is, yeah.
for these kinds of epic, apocalyptic type tales.
Yep. So, also interesting, just because I'm
Kara's got the interesting going on.
is that the word in the Bible, in the Hebrew, for pitch, which is what you sealed the ark
Right,
with,
right.
is not the normal word used in Hebrew for pitch, but is the Babylonian word
Yeah.
for pitch.
I skipped all the details because there's
yeah.
all this detail
About
in
how to build a boat.
about how they built the boat, about how they sealed the
Right, yeah.
boat.
They do the same thing in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because
In fact,
and it must be because it all comes back from whatever this original Mesopotamian
Yep.
story
Yep.
was
Yep.
being passed on with astonishing accuracy
astonishing
Yeah.
accuracy.
from culture to culture.
I think the only difference is that in the biblical narrative, it's just Noah and his sons who build the boat,
Right.
Instead of
whereas
Utnapishtim and a whole legion of craftsmen.
You know, get together. And they do it really fast. I think in 7 days this happened, and in 7 days that happened. And it's
very rapid turnaround.
Very rapid turnaround.
It's amazing what you can accomplish when you know the world's about to be destroyed.
Right.
It took Noah 120 years to build the ark.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think it took...
it doesn't seem like it took Utnapishtim nearly that long.
If all of the end of the world talk is stressing you out, our Tiger Amanda is here to help with self-care and relaxation salts from Wonderful Body Co. These soaks and scrubs inspired by popular books and characters are designed to delight multiple senses with fragrant scents and sparkling mica. You can also find a small selection of rollerball fragrances. With a couple of dozen options available, you're sure to find something you'd like at Wonderful Body Co.'s collection. And since Ode writes these commercials and must represent house pride at every opportunity, the Slytherin bath salt gets a special shout out as being spectacularly green with notes of bergamot black tea. Find Wonderful Body Co. online at wonderfulbodyco.com or go directly to the shop at etsy.com/shop/Wonderful Body Co.
See, my lavender just was it
lavender and buttercream.
Lavender and buttercream. It just does not get the respect. But I love it. I'm actually out. I need to go order some more.
You don't write the commercials.
I know, but I'm going to give a shout out for the lavender buttercream because it's awesome.
Now I am going to tell you about Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
We referred to it briefly in the Litha episode because I wanted to scare some heathens. And now we're going to talk about the details of Ragnarok. So we're going to talk specifically, for the most part, about the Prose Edda version of Ragnarok. It also features in the Poetic Edda, but the Prose Edda, although it adds some things that we're not sure where Snorri got them from, it does have a more coherent narrative structure because the Poetic Edda didn't care about that. And we also don't have complete fragments of the Poetic Edda in all cases. So we're going to go with the Prose Edda. Ragnarok is hailed by Fimbulventr, which is mighty winter. So, for 3 winters, there will be no summers. There will be 3 years of nothing but winter, and with each successive winter, the snow and the ice and the hail and the winds will blow in from a different direction.
That's like always winter and never Christmas.
Always winter, never Christmas.
Or always winter and never Yule in this case.
Right. Winter is coming. So Michigan, as Superman. Yes, accurate.
Yes, accurate.
But no road construction season during Fimbulventr because all life is destroyed. Ooh. All living things die due to the intensity of Fimbulventr, except 2 creatures, Lif and Lifthrasir, which are life and life's lover, respectively.
Makes sense.
Who hide in Hodmimi's Holt, which is probably another term for Yggdrasil, because Hodmimr is Hord Mimr. Mimr is one of Odin's relatives who gets beheaded by the Vanir, and then they throw his head in a well so that it can continue to prophesy.
Rude.
And the well is at the base of Yggdrasil. So
yeah, like it is.
Yeah, so Hord Mimr's Hodmimi's Holt is Yggdrasil. So Lif and Lifthrasir hide in Yggdrasil and survive the winter that way. But they are the only human beings, and as far as we know, the only creatures who live on Midgard who survive Fimbulventr. When you get to the 3rd winter, when the 3rd winter has passed, it's time for Ragnarok to go into full swing. The first thing that happens is that Sol and Mani, who have been pursued through the sky by the wolves Hati and Skull for centuries, are finally caught and consumed by these wolves.
Oh.
Hati and Skull are the children of Fenrisulfur. And so this is the very first sign that everything's about to go wrong, because as soon as the lights go out of the sky, the earth essentially breaks. It starts rattling and trembling and shaking, and the mountains crack open, and all restraints, all bindings break.
Oh no.
Including the magical fetter which binds Fenrisulfur. So Fenrisulfur breaks free of his long confinement, and so too does Loki.
Oh, shit's gonna go down, people.
The earth is in catastrophe. There are no lights anywhere in the sky. Fenrisulfur is free and roaming the earth, and then the seas begin to rise. And out of the rising seas, as they consume the earth, rises Jormungandr, another of Loki's children.
That's the big snake.
The great serpent, yes. Jormungandr and Fenrisulfur advance together side by side as brothers towards Asgard. Fenrisulfur's mouth so wide open that his bottom jaw grazes the earth, his top jaw grazes the sky, and Jormungandr spitting venom and poison with his mouth also open as they advance towards the gods.
Man, that's scary. I mean, seriously.
On the rising sea, the dead begin to sail as the ship Naglfar, which is constructed from the fingernails of dead men, rises up out of hell, captained by the giant Hrimir and Loki himself, bearing with him the dead from his daughter's realm.
See, this is all Loki's doing. This whole shit is going down because of Loki. I love it. Go ahead.
And at the final moment, the sky splits open, cracks open, straight down the middle. And from the crack in the sky, which is Ymir's skull, expanding out into the void, which contains, as we know, Niflheim and Muspelheim, Surtur and the sons of Muspel, the fire giants, advance across the Bifrost into our world, and as soon as they have crossed the Rainbow Bridge, it shatters, preventing anyone else from making passage in or out of Midgard.
Oh, he's having
this on video.
I know! We should be doing this on YouTube, man. This child is, like, emoting. I'm like, getting,
Almost
like...
had spirit fingers.
Right? Almost. It's awesome.
Heimdall, who is the watchman of the gods, of course is the first to see all of these advancing threats across the land in towards Asgard. So he blows Gjallarhorn, which is the great horn that warns Asgard that enemies approach, which has not been needed since the time of the Aesir-Vanir War. So as Heimdall blows Gjallarhorn, all the gods prepare themselves for the battle that they have long known is coming because it was foretold. They all meet at the foretold place. There is a specific field that has been predicted as the battleground of Ragnarok, just outside of Asgard.
Okay.
They all line up, they all advance, fighting begins. First, Garmr, who is the hellhound that has until now guarded the gate to hell, but which broke free when all restraints were broken,
Makes sense.
attacks Tyr. Tyr lost his hand to Fenrisulfur ages ago when Fenrisulfur was first bound. With this handicap, Tyr is unable to prevent Garmr from killing him, but he manages to slay the beast with his final breath. Thor and Odin fight side by side, defending against Fenrisulfur and Jormungandr, who are likewise side by side. Odin fights Fenrisulfur, but is completely overwhelmed. Fenrisulfur consumes him whole. Odin is only avenged by his son Vidar, the god of vengeance, the silent god, who until this day has had almost no task because, like his brother Vali, he was born for this purpose, to get this vengeance. And he holds down Fenrir's bottom jaw and rips up his top jaw and splits him in half.
Ooh.
At the same time, Thor, who has just watched his father be consumed and destroyed by the wolf, has been fighting Jormungandr. Jormungandr and Thor have had fights before, of course, when Thor went fishing.
Right.
Yeah, the epic tale of Thor went fishing. Check storytelling shenanigans.
So, in a much more dramatic fight now, Thor is able to slay Jormungandr and finally cut down the serpent and prevent his poison from spreading into the rest of the world, but he takes only 9 steps before he himself collapses, overcome by the serpent's venom.
Oh no.
His mighty hammer Mjolnir is left abandoned on the field. Loki and Heimdall, long enemies after an incident in which Loki stole Freya's necklace and Heimdall had to retrieve it, meet on the field of battle and slay each other within a single charge. And finally, Freyr, who has long been a god who stepped away from battle and who gave his sword away to his servant Skirnir in order to gain the hand of Gerda, his wife, steps to the front of the charge because all the other war gods are dead, and with a broken piece of antler tine, he attempts to defend against Surtur, the primordial fire god, who came from Muspelheim. And Surtur slays Freyr, and with no other competition, Surtur bathes the entire world in flame, destroying everything he touches.
And that's it?
Well,
It's just
No.
gone.
here's the thing. So Surtur has had his success. He's in fact, Surtur and the Sons of Muspel are the only people who got out of this with no casualties.
Right.
So they return to Muspelheim. They leave. And the seas recede and the earth is slowly revealed. And everything that the seas cover was safe from Surtur's fire. So the world remains green and fertile and growing, with fields that sow themselves in the aftermath of this catastrophe. And creeping out of the ruin, Vidar and Vali,
Who were hiding with the head of the...
with the head of Fenrir in the halls of Asgard, survive the fire, and so they creep out to see if there's anybody else still around. And they meet Modi and Magni, Thor's sons, who have retrieved the fallen hammer from the field of battle.
See, somebody could touch it.
From beside their father. And rising up from hell, returning to rule, come Balder and Hodr.
Ha-ha!
Balder, who died due to some shenanigans.
Caused by Loki.
Caused by Loki. Balder, who died before all this happened, and who was therefore safe in Hel's Hall while it was going on. And Hodr, his brother, who was slain, justly or unjustly, by Vali for kinslaying, returns with him. And they set up a new council of gods, these survivors, and creeping out of Yggdrasil, which of course cannot be touched by flame or flood, come Lif and Lifrasser, life and life's lover, to repopulate the earth.
I like it. Well, and it's like we were saying, this is one of those cyclical tales where one world ends.
New world begins.
A new world. It's not a continuation of the world with all the bad people gone. It's a complete new world.
New fresh start.
It's a new fresh start with a brand new world, but still human beings to populate it.
Yep. Would you like to tell an apocalypse story now?
You know what? I'm not going to tell an apocalypse story right now.
Okay.
But I am going to talk, because that's who I am as a person.
That's fair.
I have found a brief history of the apocalypse.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
A brief history of the Christian apocalypse.
Okay.
Okay.
All right? So I want to give you the dates that the world's going to end.
Okay. I love this kind of stuff.
All right. So according to Isaac Asimov's Book of Facts, which was published in 1979, the world actually ended in 2800 BC.
Okay.
So, in case you're wondering, that's the very first one.
We're living in the post-apocalypse.
Yep.
Okay.
Apocalyptic thinking gripped many ancient cultures, including the Romans. Early in Roman history, many Romans feared that the city would be destroyed in 120. The 120th year of its founding.
Okay.
Okay? And there was a myth that 12 eagles had revealed to Romulus a mystical number representing the lifetime of Rome, and some early Romans hypothesized that each eagle represented a 10
decade.
years. Yep. The Roman calendar was counted from the founding of Rome, so 1 ACU being 753 BC. Thus, 120 ACU or 643 BC would have been the end of the world.
Oh, interesting.
Okay?
Okay.
Jesus, of course, said that, "Verily I say unto you, there will be some standing here which will not see a taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming into his kingdom," which implies that the second coming would return within the lifetime of some of his contemporaries.
That didn't happen.
And indeed, the apostles expected Jesus to return before the passing of their generation, so that would have been the first century.
Unless there were vampire apostles.
Right, which is possible.
Which is possible.
Hilary of Poitiers predicted the world would come to an end in 365 AD.
Okay.
The Donations, a North African Christian sect, looked forward to the world ending in 380 AD.
Looked forward to.
Well, see, a lot of these Christian sects do look forward to the end of the world, because that means the coming of Christ and establishing of the kingdom of God,
Right.
Heaven on earth.
St. Martin of Tours wrote in the late 4th century that there is no doubt that the Antichrist has already been born, firmly establishing already his early years. He will, after reaching maturity, achieve supreme power.
Did you just call that man Satan of Martin?
No, St. Martin of Tours.
Okay.
Satan of Martin.
No.
Palladius, the Bishop of Toledo, described a brief bout of end-time panic that happened on Easter's Eve in 793.
I wonder what spawned that.
A Spanish monk named Beatus of Labinia, who said, "Let's eat and drink so that we will die well-fed."
So eat, drink, and be merry, basically.
Yep.
Oh boy, that's a way to get some people spooked out.
Bishop Gregory of Tours, apparently Tours, which is in France, is where everybody had
freaked
doomsday.
out.
So Bishop Gregory of Tours calculated that the end occurred between 799 and 806.
It's all the very good wine there.
Well, that could be.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm impressed that these people are able to get to, like, real specific years. I would be tempted to, like, round.
Well, didn't you know the world ended a couple of years ago?
2012.
According
Yeah.
to somebody.
Yeah, paranoia was around the year 1000.
Okay.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah, right. Millennium.
Right, millennium, yep.
We experienced the same thing.
In 2000.
Pope Innocent III expected the second coming of Christ to take place in 1284, 666 years after the rise of Islam.
Aha!
Aha!
That's as good a reason as any, I guess, to make a prediction.
Sure.
At least it's internally consistent.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm skipping a bunch
At
of
least
these.
that one had a reasoning. Frequently, many of these are like, it'll be exactly this year. Why? I don't know. It just seemed like a nice number.
The end of the world would occur by flooding starting in London on February 1st, Julian, in 1524, according to calculations by London astrologers.
Did London flood then?
No.
Bummer.
But 20,000 people
Bummer.
did abandon.
I mean,
London.
no offense to London. I just think that would have been a nice coincidence.
Around 20,000 people did abandon their homes.
Oh.
There's always
Clergymen
preppers.
Yeah.
stockpiled food and water in a fortress he built.
Yeah.
Well, that is a continuation.
Doomsday preppers.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
been doomsday. There are still people doomsday prepping right now.
It makes me really sad, though, when someone, like, makes a prediction, like, in the next 6 months, the world's
Yeah.
gonna end. And then everybody freaks out and, like, destroys their lives trying to plan for it. That makes me really sad.
Oh, well, in 1999, it was ridiculous what happened.
Quinn Anne grew up in a prepper household. I literally was told that at any moment the government was going to come for us. Living a young life in fear like that really fucked with my head. Yeah, I imagine it would.
Yeah, I imagine it would. I'm so sorry.
1972,
Okay.
Herbert W. Armstrong had his third rapture prediction.
Right.
You'd think by the third time around, no one would be listening anymore.
1973, David Berg, a.k.a. Moses David, guru of the Children of God, which is actually where River and Joaquin and the Phoenixes were
Right.
part
Their
of that.
family
Yep, their family were a part of that.
that whole thing.
So he predicted that in 1973. He also predicted it in 1974, in 1975.
He just kept adding it. Well, it didn't happen this year.
Next
it'll be
year.
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Anytime
Next
now.
year.
Really, any day.
It's coming anytime.
1975 was also the end of the world according to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
Herbert W. Armstrong's rapture prediction number 4 happened in 1975. And the rapture end-time preacher Charles Taylor said, which was 1975. Charles Taylor then went around and said, okay, it was 1976. I miscalculated by a year.
That always seems to be the case. And what did he say when 76 came along?
That's okay. Charles Taylor's third prediction was 1980.
Added a few years this time.
Right, yeah. It's so funny.
It's not, but it's like it's funny, but it's also like
It's kind of
depressing.
sad.
Yeah.
Because like
Quinn Anne was saying, yeah.
You know, she lived in fear because her parents took these kinds of
They were worried about the government.
They were
but,
worried
yeah.
about the government, but it's that same idea. People are worried that an end of some kind is now, whether it's the government or a natural disaster or the coming of Christ or whoever, the Antichrist or whatever.
A Ragnarok.
A Ragnarok. You know, it inspires fear so that people aren't actually living their life in freedom. They're living their life in fear, and that's not cool.
So in 1981, the Reverend Sun Yin Moon,
Okay.
the Moonies, predicted that the world would end in 1981. Charles Taylor had his fourth prediction.
Oh, Chucky Taylor.
I mean,
man.
you got to give him credit for
kept trying.
effort.
Right, yep.
He kept
and
trying.
Pastor Chuck Smith of Calvary Chapel
Oh, okay.
also had his very first
Yeah.
ending of the world.
I'm sure there's
And
a
he
bunch of them.
arrived at this calculation by adding 40 years, one biblical generation, to 1948, the year of Israel's statehood, and subtracting 7 for the tribulation.
There's a lot of crazy math that goes on for these things.
Quinn Anne says Taylor's persistent. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, very persistent.
Very persistent.
1982, Charles Taylor made his fifth.
Oh my
Oh my God! Charles, enough!
Charles, you're not good at apocalypse math. Move on to something else.
Move on, man.
In 1982, actually in the 70s, Pat Robertson of the 700 Club predicted that May of 1982 would be the end.
Yep,
Of the world.
still here, Pat.
Still kicking.
Yep.
Still kicking. So is he.
1983 was Charles Taylor's sixth prediction.
Oh,
Cheesy, crazy.
You know, it gets to the point.
1985 was his
Oh
seventh
my
prediction.
God!
Okay, it just gets to the point where it's embarrassing. I'm just saying.
1986. You want to take a guess?
Oh my God, was it his eighth
It was
prediction?
indeed his eighth prediction. 1987.
His ninth?
His ninth
Holy
prediction.
shit!
God.
So, 1988 was Hal Lindsey's The Late Great Planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, I read that book.
And his reasoning was that it had been 40 years, one biblical generation, after Israel gained statehood. It was also the 10th prediction of Charles Taylor. It was the 3rd prediction of Canadian Doug Clark.
Doug Clark has got shit on
Okay.
Charles Taylor.
What I'm getting from this
Nobody's
here-
going to beat Charles Taylor's record.
So I'm going to give you the dates that are in the future now.
Okay, good.
You ready? George Madray predicted on Yom Kippur Purisa that it would be September 28th, 2020.
How do these people get
I don't know.
the real specific date?
All right, so
I don't know, but James Harmon, his 4th rapture prediction is 2022.
I'm not worried, are you?
Ian Gurney predicts in his book, The Cassandra Prophecy, Armageddon Approaches, that the final date, Judgment Day, the end of mankind's planet on this earth, is less than 20 years away from 2001, which would be
2021.
2023.
Way to steal Greek mythology's
Right?
Right.
Cassandra for your
Yeah.
judgment
Yep.
pronouncement.
Anne Chenault, a frequent poster on Usenet, believed that the rapture would happen in 2025.
Okay. Quinn Ann says maybe they think that if they keep guessing, they'll be right just on random chance.
Agreed.
According to an article published in Science magazine in 1960, the date the world's population would reach infinity, and as a result of the so-called doomsday equation, is November 13th, 2026.
Yeah, that's based on a misapplication of population theory, but yes.
Yes. 2033 will be the 2000th anniversary of the crucifixion, except that that's not right either because he wasn't born in 0, but
Right.
whatever. In a book called The Glory of God, psychic Gene Dixon
Oh, that's not surprising.
wrote that the years 2020 to 2037 hail the true second coming of Christ.
Wow, that's a long span.
Range.
Right.
That's smart.
17 years.
See, that's smart. You give a range,
give a
and then if the
range.
world dies anywhere in that time, you were right.
You were right.
Pyramidologist Max Toth predicts that the physical incarnation of reincarnation
Okay.
of Jesus Christ occurring in 2040.
So reborn as a baby?
Yes.
Because that's reincarnation.
Yep.
Right? So then we got another, 20 years or so until he's useful.
Right, yep.
Right.
All right.
And futurist John Smart of Acceleration Watch estimates that the technical singularity will take place around the year 2040. When technology advances to asystematic levels after this apocalyptic event, a new era of balance and compassion will begin.
Yeah, see,
Skynet is coming.
I don't see why the technological singularity has to be a bad thing.
No.
I mean, I already want computers to run most of my life, so
Unless it's Skynet.
In 4,500,000 AD, the sun will swell into a giant red star swallowing Mercury, Venus, Earth, and perhaps Mars. That is going to be the true end of the world.
yeah, that's science.
Yep.
Y'all, I think we're okay. Just saying.
Unless you're a vampire and you got 4 billion years worth of plans, I think we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yep. So,
All right.
for some post-apocalyptic crafts, our tiger Lorelei from the Georgia-based shop Otherworld Creations, which fits. You can use it even after the apocalypse.
That's right.
This shop features jewelry, altarpieces, devotional art, and decorative items fashioned out of bone, teeth, jaws, and fur of departed creatures. Lorelei believes that these remains have their own energy and spirit the same way that plants and stones do, and that these can be tapped into and worked with. Most of the remains used in Otherworld creations are found already dead, and some are traded from hunters who would otherwise discard the remnant. You can follow Otherworld Creations on Instagram at Otherworld_CreationsCo, or find them on Facebook, or contact them at otherworldcreationsco@gmail.com for inquiries or commissions.
Spectacular. Since we're living in several post-apocalypses.
Right, yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
oh my-
it's like perfect. If
Yeah,
you-
that's perfect.
Post-apocalyptic crafts. Right there.
we're here.
Lorelai's already
There
making
you
them.
go.
Yep.
Yep.
We're in like
We're in
3,000
baby.
simultaneous post-apocalypses, so
Yep.
Right? Right? We're good.
got to get your post-apocalypse chic going.
Right,
right.
exactly.
Before we do anything else, though, I think
Yes.
it's time for...
It's time for reviews.
You should have seen Gwyn was trying to, cue him to stop. She was making, throat-cutting gestures. It was great.
Again, the things you miss when we're not on YouTube.
Right, you've been spoiled now by watching the
Spoiled.
streams.
Just use your imagination. You can see their
just
shenanigans.
extrapolate the hand gestures based on what you saw on the streams.
That's right. Now, this is a review that we've been looking forward to
Yes.
doing
Yeah,
for
very
several
much
weeks
so.
now.
Yes. This product comes to us from Rana's husband.
Yep.
It is Symbolry Designs,
And Rana is one of our patrons.
Yep.
who is not actually live with us in the stream right now.
Which is hysterical.
Which is
really funny.
hilarious. But they sent us a whole bunch
Oh my
of
gosh.
incense.
Like 7 of their regular line, and then they also sent us the new blend,
Yeah.
which I forget what they named it.
It didn't have a name at the time we received it.
But oh my goodness, you guys, this incense is just wonderful.
Yeah, so it is custom blended, hand dipped incense. It comes in sticks and in cones. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Quinn Ann says she thinks that
Enchanted.
that it was
I think you're
enchanted,
right.
and I think that's
you're
right. I think that's correct.
The thing about these incenses, and I believe his name is actually Chris.
I don't know.
He has such a subtle way of blending these incenses,
These fragrances.
to create something that's not overpowering, that
Not overly flowery.
not overly flowery. It fragrances the entire room
But in a very light way.
in a light and subtle way that lasts for a very long time. I did incense in here, maybe 2 hours ago?
yeah,
Yep.
and
And it's still just such a
it still
light...
smells nice in here, but not overpowering.
Yep, and I use Tranquility in here.
But they're not very floral, like Carr said, and they don't have that perfumey quality that
Yep.
some stick
Right.
incenses have.
Yep.
And Gwyn has even burned the patchouli and
Yes.
whatever one,
I
and I
believe it's
haven't
patchouli
died.
and sandalwood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Carr's been fine with it.
I haven't
burned it
died, yeah.
multiple times, and the first time he didn't even notice that I was
Yeah.
burning the patchouli and
Yep.
sandalwood.
Yeah.
I told him, and he was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah," because it's so subtle. They blend.
That's not a very good story, but yeah.
This stuff is very good, and the prices are incredibly reasonable.
Yep.
And Symbolry is on Etsy.
Yep.
The great thing is, not only did he send us a bazillion packages.
A million.
That's hyperbole. He sent us about 8 packages.
But there are
of
so many
incense.
sticks in each package.
You get about
honestly.
24
Yeah.
to 25 sticks. I think it's 25
think it
sticks
is.
per package. And he sent us an incense burner
Yes.
made from a wine bottle.
Yeah, these are really fascinating.
They're custom wine bottle incense burners. And apparently he has experimented with different types and sizes and heights of bottles until he found just the perfect one. The one he sent to us is red, but
Yep.
on the Etsy store, the colors to choose from are blue and green.
Yep.
Okay.
And then he created himself. He created the top.
Yeah, it's like a keychain essentially stuck into a cork.
Into the cork, and then there's the holder part where you put the stick incense,
Mm-hmm.
and it hangs down into the bottle.
Inside the bottle, yeah.
And then the smoke inside the bottle just kind of wafts
Yeah.
up and very gently wafts out of the top of the bottle.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I think that's why it diffuses so
Yeah.
smoothly.
And it's so much cleaner
Yeah.
than using
Oh.
any other kind of burner. Any other kind of incense burner, you're going to get ash everywhere. Like even in a
Everywhere.
coffin, trying to clean a coffin is a nightmare.
And ultimately, with the coffins, they get the resin and
Yes,
the blackened
they
on
get
the
blackened
top,
on
and they
the-
get sticky
Yeah.
and you ultimately have to replace them.
you don't have that problem with the bottle. You just pour out the ash, you
wash
rinse
it
it
out,
out,
let it dry, and then
and
you're good to go.
You're good to
Yeah.
go with new incense. It's great. They're
It's-
so smart.
It's a beautiful idea. I love it. And it honestly, I think it's perfect for these incenses.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I noticed in comparing Symbolry's incense sticks to the other ones that I've purchased,
Yep.
they're a little bit longer.
They're a
Yeah.
little bit longer, and they're also, I've been super impressed with these.
They're a nice slow burn, too.
They're very, regular. Yeah,
Yes.
they're very uniform. A lot of times with a hand-dipped incense like this, you'll get, a really bulky stick.
Right.
Or one that's
Or
really,
really
irregular.
thin.
Yeah, really thin. Or one that's really irregularly formed.
Mm-hmm.
And these incenses are so regular and consistent. They're all the same color, so you can't, take them out of the bags if you want to be able to identify them. You'll have to
Right.
leave them in their bags. They're so regular and consistently shaped and sized. It's great. Yeah, it's Symbolry. So I'm going to actually spell it. You can get them at www.symbolry, SYMBOLRY, designs, DESIGNS.com.
And you can also go to Etsy.
Yep.
Yes.
and just search
Symbolry
Designs at Etsy, and it'll take you right to the store. I really highly recommend these. These are probably the finest stick incenses.
Yeah.
I haven't even tried the cone yet.
Yeah,
because I've been so enthralled. I'll be
She's
I
honest.
didn't even know they sent us cones.
Yeah, they did. She's been burning this incense pretty much 2 or 3 times a day since we got them.
Yep. We've had them for several weeks now, and I have literally been burning them probably once in the morning, once in the evening.
And occasionally just an extra one.
Just for the fun of it during the day, because it makes the house smell so good.
Relic says he likes to save the ashes from his incense to use in the ink he uses to make his sigils, so they sound nice since
Interesting.
they're easy to clean. Yeah, that it's definitely way easier to get your ashes. I save my ashes too to use for various things, and it's definitely way easier to save the ashes out of a bottle than it is out of...
You just dump them out.
Because otherwise, that ash goes everywhere. You're like scraping it up off the carpet with a spoon. Yeah, no, this is way better.
So they are $5 a package.
Yep.
Excellent. Which is
What's that?
so
That's
cheap.
so
Yep.
reasonable for the amount of incense you get in one package.
And there are, looks like 8 different kinds.
Yeah, 8 blends.
And you can get the entire package
Yeah, the whole
all
set.
Entire
set.
collection.
for $50, and that includes free shipping.
But the incense burners are $20.
Is $22.
Oh,
$22, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you can also custom order stuff. And then he also has an incense oil.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to go on the oil
Little
diffusers.
oil
Yes.
diffusers,
Yep.
yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
So, and you can select any of those 8 different scents for that as well.
All I can say about Symbolry Designs is that this gentleman is a true craftsman. And I may never use any other stick incense ever again.
Yeah, so we really recommend this incense.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
I do. Highly recommend it. Get some. You'll love it.
That's it for review.
Gwyn started buffing her nails. And Carl lost his composure.
I was trying really hard not to look. I was looking away, but I could see it in my peripheral
Yeah.
vision.
And buffing her
Dang
nails.
it.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for review.
All right, Gwyn, you got another apocalypse to tell us about?
Yes, I do. Okay. Now, in Hinduism, they believe that the earth has basically been formed and unformed through destructive means 3 or 4 times already. They have this, and I can't even begin to explain it. There's
The
this
complex
very
cosmology.
complex cosmology. But basically, we are right now, according to the Hindu tradition, we are in what is known as the Kali Yuga. And the Kali that they're mentioning, that they mean it, that does not mean the goddess. It is actually a demon of destruction.
Okay.
So we are in the time of Kali Yuga, which is the 4th stage of the world, and it means strife, discord, quarrel, contention. So it's a struggling kind of time.
This is a difficult world.
This is a difficult world. This is one of the 4th generations or ages of and it's the Kali Yuga.
Did they see 45 coming?
Maybe. So anyway, the idea is that at the end of the Kali Yuga, the 22nd incarnation of Vishnu will arrive.
Okay.
And his name is Kalki.
Okay.
All right? And the Kalki will come like a comet, carrying a terrifying sword, which they call Parabrahman,
Okay.
while riding atop a white horse. Okay? And so let me tell you the story.
Yes, tell me the tale.
Yes, it's actually quite beautiful.
Tell me the tale of Kalki.
Okay, at the end of the age, the Lord of the universe will mount his swift horse, Davadada, his noble white steed, and he will ride down from heaven brandishing the weapon of Parabrahman, the fiery sword. With this sword, Kalki will slay the millions. They're thieves and evil people. These millions of thieves and evil people, the corrupt, who have dared to dress as kings. They have basically been laying claim to that which they have not earned. Okay. The Kalki will come and he will destroy all of these. And those who have been holy in these dark days will emerge from hiding in the wilderness and in the caves, and they will bless the Kalki, the name of the High Lord, who will then usher in another age, the Satya Yugi, the age of truth and righteousness.
Oh, so we got a good world coming.
Got a good world coming.
Just gotta get through this one.
Gotta get through the Kali Yugi.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was
Do
very
they give a
interesting.
time frame?
No, they really don't. Well, actually,
Dang it.
I take that back. They do, but I'm not going to even attempt to discern it.
A lot of math.
A lot of math. And it, like I said, the Hindu cosmology is just very, very complex and ornate and beautiful, and it's
Layered.
really layered. There's I'm just giving a very brief little, quite a beautiful image that, when you see it represented in paintings and things
Well,
like
and
that.
that makes sense because it sounds like he's less a world destroyer and more a world fixer.
Yeah, he's basically, that's what it is. He's taking all the corruption and the evil from the world and leaving those who were living a holy life and elevating them into a place that's full of truth and justice and
That's
things
neat.
like that. It's actually a really beautiful story. But again, they have these different ages,
Right.
and they all have different.
And we've been through 3 so far.
Yeah,
And we're in the middle of the
we're
fourth.
In the, we're in
and
the middle of
shitty
the
one.
fourth. Yeah. So anyway, that's
Awesome.
Hindu is the very basic Hindu.
Right.
What else do you have?
What else do I have? Well, I decided I wasn't going to tell like a myth for my second one because Ragnarok is pretty involved and I wanted to spend most of my time on that. But, to the surprise of no one.
Yeah.
To the surprise of no one. But I did want to talk about something called the Big Freeze, also known as the heat death of the universe. And this is a science concept. It's a theory about what the end of the universe as we understand it might look like depending on...
Shock face, Ode.
Thanks, Bill. It's a theory about what the end of the universe might look like based on currently understood science.
Gotcha.
The Big Freeze with heat death relies on a Big Bang having happened and on an expanding universe. So the universe, as far as we can tell, seems to be expanding, and we can't tell if it's ever going to stop expanding. It might just keep expanding forever, infinitely into the void.
Expand.
Right, because that's the nature of the universe as far as we can tell. This is distinct from what's called a steady state universe, which is a universe that, like, always existed and sort of spontaneously regenerates the stuff it needs to keep going.
Okay.
In a Big Bang universe, the universe was originally a very, very dense, very, very hot thing,
Right.
and exploded out into an expanding universe, and it had only the heat and energy that it started with, and it's not acquiring anymore.
Right.
So, the second law of thermodynamics states that entropy tends to increase in a closed system, because hot things spread heat to cold things until they reach equilibrium, right?
Right.
If you put a hot thing in a cold room, the heat leaches out from the hot thing into the cold room, warms the ambient temperature
Right.
until they are both the same temperature.
Right.
In a closed system, that's how heat works. Heat is energy, and you need energy to perform work. So the idea is that if the universe is a closed system, which we can't confirm, but
Or deny.
or deny, because what would be outside the universe?
We don't know.
We don't know. We can't tell. But if the universe is a closed system and it continues to expand, that increases the natural entropy of the universe because of the second law of thermodynamics. Heat and energy are being spread over wider and wider spaces. There's a finite amount of heat and energy, so eventually you reach this perfect equilibrium where no work can take place because no energy can be exchanged because everything is the same temperature, right? The same
Okay.
energy equivalency.
Okay.
In that situation, what happens is, theoretically, the universe just kind of winds down like a clock running out of energy until it's at a state of perfect rest, which is functionally death, because nothing can happen anymore. All life requires some kind of work.
Some kind of
And
energetic.
some kind of energy, and since there can be no work performed and no energy generated because everything is perfectly equal and we've reached a maximum entropy for this system, the universe just stops.
Would it not be, as it starts to kind of cool, wouldn't then something put work in to make it warmer again?
No, so the idea is there's a finite amount of energy.
There's no energy for it to regenerate.
So until and unless we find, and there are theories about this, that like maybe by the time this is becoming a problem, because this isn't something that would become a problem until many hundreds of billions of years after the sun explodes and
Right.
destroys our solar system.
Gotcha.
We'll be long gone.
Right. The thought is maybe by that point there will be some sentient species in the universe, probably not us, but somebody, who will have figured out a way to generate new energy.
Right.
Gotcha.
But unless a way is discovered to generate new energy somehow, which would require us to have a different understanding of the way the universe works,
Right.
eventually that finite amount of energy it will be spread so thin through the expanded universe that there will be nothing for it to move into and out of.
Kind of
Gotcha.
like a candle that just basically drowns in its wax.
Sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
That idea.
Okay.
So it's just the universe, it's essentially just the universe stretching itself out so thin.
It has nothing
Right.
else it can do.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't like necessarily snap back,
Right.
Because there's no energy for it to do that.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And then I did want to address, because I think you had said this to Phyllis the other day, and you're
About the world.
the world will go on.
The planet.
The planet
Right.
will go on without us, and that's true. It will. Something I think will take over, whether it's the
Right. It won't be any species that are currently existing.
I don't
probably.
think it'll be. I think if we take ourselves out, we're taking the other species with us.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Probably before us.
Yes.
yeah, chances are
On the way.
On the way.
But yeah, we're in a good position here in the universe with our sun. So yes, probably if we do end up destroying our existing ecosystem and the world has to regenerate and start over from scratch, yeah, probably
It
eventually
will.
something else will
and
come to life.
so I think just from that, that just kind of continues the
That
idea
cycle
of the
thing.
cycle
Yeah.
of
Destruction,
birth,
rebirth.
life,
Right.
death, rebirth. That whole.
I mean, we've already kind of
destruction,
had
rebirth.
that to a lesser extent in that dinosaurs don't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
All of those prehistoric animals
Yeah.
Gone.
that don't exist anymore because the planet became ecologically unsuitable for them after some kind of catastrophe. We don't know
Exactly.
exactly what.
And
there
we-
was a catastrophe of some kind that made the planet unsuitable for those species, and new species survived and rose to where we are now.
Yep.
And we had an ice age that changed the way
Yes,
the
there are-
Earth was.
So going-
and those who lived in that era.
Going back to Ragnarok
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit. Fimbulwinter, Mighty Winter, they think was the root of that idea, came from the extreme weather conditions in Scandinavia in the 500s when there was an extremely strong but relatively localized ice age
Gotcha.
that hit the northern part of the planet and really crushed Scandinavia, which prior to that had been a much more temperate area.
temperate.
There was a very extreme shift in weather
Yeah.
and climate in that part of the world. And so they think that's where Mighty Winter came from, and the idea of just successive winters with no summer in between, destroying
Yeah.
large segments of the population.
So I do think that the Earth naturally goes through these cycles. I think the
Right.
danger that we are facing now
We've accelerated
is that
it.
we have accelerated it for
Yep.
ourselves in just the last 150 years.
Yeah.
When it's the end of the world as you know it,
Oh, no.
and you feel fine.
I love that
It
song.
might be time for a spot of tea from our Tiger Crystal from Apothecary Teas. This shop produces fragrant, aesthetically beautiful teas that delight the senses with handcrafted tea blends from white to red to green. To celebrate the world ending in fire, consider campfire tea, a Russian black tea infused with the smoky allure of the campfire, spiced up with some cinnamon, clove, and safflower. Find them at apothecaryteastore.com or on Facebook at Apothecary Teas LLC.
I like writing these commercials, can you tell? Carr has one more apocalypse story
That's
to tell
right.
us.
And it's not really an apocalypse story,
No.
though, kind of. So this does come from Irish mythology.
Bob.
Bob, really freaking hard to say. Say B-A-D-B to yourself and
Yeah,
you know
but
what it
see,
is.
this here is a thorn, so
Yes,
it
I
should be
know.
pronounced like a th. So I think it's bad.
There you go. Anyway, who is one part of the war goddess known as the Three Morgana.
Or the Morrigan?
Yes. And so what I'm going to read you is following the defeat of the Fomorians by the Tuatha De Danann at the Second Battle of Mag Turid.
Okay.
All right. She sings a prophecy. Is-
Right, because poetry, music, and prophecy are all
That's
like
right.
the same thing in Celtic
Correct.
lands.
Yes.
Right.
So the prophecy is peace up to heaven, heaven down to earth, earth beneath heaven, strength in each, a cup very full, full of honey, meat in abundance, summer and winter. And then,
I was gonna say, that doesn't sound too bad.
no. And then It goes, I shall not see a world which is dear to me. Summer without blossom.
Ooh.
Cattle without milk.
Ooh.
Women without modesty.
Oh, that's bad.
Men without valor. Conquests without a king. Woods without mast. Sea without produce. False judgments of old men. False precedents of lawyers. Every man a betrayer. Every son a reaver. The son will go to bed with his father, and the father will go to bed with his son, each his brother's brother-in-law. He will not seek any woman outside of his house. An evil time. Son will deceive his father. Daughter will deceive.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it gets pretty like...
Bad and ominous.
That's
Yes.
like,
hardcore, real
all this
hardcore.
great stuff, and then, oh,
Very
shit.
intense.
And then doom.
So, yep.
Doom,
That's
doom,
interesting
I
that she
say.
starts, though, with, like,
Everything's
happy
sunshine
fun
and
time.
Right, yeah, yep.
And
Happy
now
hunky
you're
dory.
fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Every disease and every vengeance, basically, will lay the world to waste.
That's not very kind, Bapt.
No.
Well, it's a prophecy. Maybe
That's
she doesn't
true.
have anything to
That's
do with
true.
it. Maybe it's
Just be glad I didn't try to do it in Gaelic.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys very much. The world's gonna end.
As you know it. But we feel fine.
Red Dirt Druid asks, does anybody hear that battle horn? No? Just me then?
You can find us on everywhere. You can freaking find us everywhere. If you can find a place you can't find us, email me. But how do you email me? You email me at car@3pagansandacat.com. Anyway, anywhere you want to find us.
Right. You can find us at 3pagansandacat.com.
That's the number 3, pagansandacat.com.
You can find us on Facebook,
YouTube.
Twitter,
We have a
Instagram.
Redbubble. We got a range of things.
and you'll usually find all of those links listed on under
the
the
episodes.
episode, the
Yep.
individual episodes. So,
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Peace
that's
out.
it.
Goodbye.
Okay,
Bye.
Turn off the
done.
recording.
Turn
I'm
it
turning off
now.
the-
Oh
I
no,
don't
the
have
thing's too far away.
Oh no! It's
Gwyn
too
has to
far.
turn it off
I
this
have
time.
To do it. Oh no!
Press the button.
Press the
the
stop.
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 Yes, that one.
Stop.
That one, yes.
Yes, that one.
You've been listening to Three Pagans and a Cat. Find out more information at www.threepagansandacat.com.